over the past three over the past 3 years, this session has been very popular with two types of individuals. One is the student that comes from, in particular, Columbus State Community College, working in a variety of fields: business, marketing, design, digital design, photography, videography. And the other type of person that we get is a business person in our community that's looking for expertise, leading trends, understanding the moment with regard to digital trends, digital branding, digital marketing. My name is Paul Carringer, and I serve as a faculty member in the business programs department at Columbus State Community College. I also have worked in the field of advertising and public relations for many years. We, in our marketing track, have several programs and courses that allow for students to become certified with certain skills that they can apply in the field. And they also then can receive an associate degree to go on to places like Franklin University, Ohio Dominican, Wesleyan, and the Ohio State University. Go Bucks. So today, this session, we're going to talk a little bit about digital marketing, personal branding, business branding, and we're going to take a look at how COVID-19, now that we've had some time to live in this moment, how that's impacted the digital marketing world. With our panel today, I want to introduce our experts who are with us. First, Mark Whitman. Mark Whitman serves as a board member, an advisory board member for our degree track of marketing at Columbus State Community College. He's a business professional that I've known for many years. In fact, I tried to go back in my mind to remember when we first met, and he said that he's been an owner of an agency since he was 35. And I wonder, because I know he's only about 40 now, it's probably a lot earlier, maybe first grade, second grade when I met Mark. He is an expert in digital marketing. This is a digital marketing agency that works with clients of all sizes in many parts of the world to find solutions in people and in software. And as he has built his agency, he created an environment that people come to learn and to grow. And I really think that having Mark here today with Team Builder Search is a great way for us to take a look at the digital space, both from the humanistic side and also from the digital technology. And let me pull my notes here. Scott Lanham. Scott Lanham. I've known Scott, I think, about as long. But he says that he's been at Mills James now, Mills James Productions, based here in Columbus, Ohio, for 34 years. Well, I think I've known Scott for at least that long. Scott comes to us as the COO, Chief Operating Officer, for the Mills James Productions operations. He also is overseeing all the profit centers of the company. He's an Ohio State University grad and worked at WOSU TV prior to obtaining a job at ABC TV affiliate here, Channel 6 in Central Ohio. He was recruited to Mills James as a director of photography and soon worked his way through engineering and finally to a position overseeing the entire company. And by the way, this production facility in digital and live events has operations in Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Boston, and it's growing today. Scott's been with Mills James, as I said, for 34 years. And Mills James is a video and event production company with over 200 employees spanning the Midwest. Notable clients, we have one in the room with us today as an expert, include Nationwide, Nationwide Insurance, Toyota, Procter & Gamble, the Ohio Lottery. If you've seen the Ohio Lottery show, it's a wonderful, wonderful event on television, and Safe Light Auto Glass, to name just a few. Thank you, Scott, for being here.
Thank you, Paul.
And one of his clients, Ramon Jones. Ramon Jones comes to us from Nationwide. And of course, Nationwide has a variety of brands, products, and services. He was named Executive Vice President, Chief Marketing Officer in November of 2019. I think that was before COVID, if I am correct. Ramon oversees departments that advocate for and share the on your side promise with customers, partners, communities, and associates. He is responsible for brand and marketing strategy, advertising, creative services, social media, and corporate communications. His experience in numerous leadership roles in both marketing and business make him uniquely qualified to promote and protect the Nationwide brand and to drive further business success. He has held several leadership roles, including Regional Vice President of Nationwide's Western U.S. operations, Associate Vice President for the Office of Chief Executive Officer, Marketing Leader of Nationwide Property Casualty Business, and most recently, Financial Services Marketing Leader. Prior to joining Nationwide, Ramon was the engagement manager for Accenture's Financial Services Strategy Practice. He's a Villanova grad, Master's of Business Administration from the Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania. And as most of our panelists always note, serves many organizations, both nonprofit and community cultural in our Central Ohio area, including the Columbus Regional Airport Authority and the Mount Carmel Foundation. And welcome, Ramon.
Thank you.
Finally, Chris Cochran, or did I do you already, Chris? Who did I do? I didn't do you, did I? Did you? I don't. See, I don't remember. I have a note. But Chris Cochran, another wonderful individual I've known for many, many years, Chris is an interesting person in many ways because of what he brings to the table as experience. It's a wide-ranging background, including design, marketing, advertising, sales, communication in Columbus. He started out in Los Angeles, came to Columbus, Ohio, and it's going to be snowing, so he probably wants to be back in LA. But he has been able to work in different types of agencies, including a boutique agency environment, where he gained an understanding of what it takes to be a preferred search partner for the largest advertising agencies and marketing companies in the world. After 9 years with Brown, Van Remen, and Canute, is that right? Canute. He expanded into the corporate talent acquisition market by joining Merits, the world's largest source of integrated performance improvement, incentive travel, and market research services. In 2009, he relocated back to his hometown and joined a great company, Portfolio Creative. And then, because he had this wide variety of experiences, started Cochran Executive Search. And as Mark goes out and works with a variety of clients. So does Chris. And in the background, you see one of the clients that Chris works with, Shipyard here in Columbus. So I bumbled and stumbled my way through that, but welcome all. And to all of our wonderful students and businesses who are in the room with us today, I hope that from our discussion, you get an insight into what is really going on in the digital marketing space. So let's get right to it. Why do we care? Well, because branding of a business or branding of a person has around it many different types of target markets. Each one of our experts today can help us understand how these target markets in the digital space and the physical space relate to us as a brand. These experts come with a variety of backgrounds and experiences as noted here. And also, if you want to reach out to them, we have put on our website the websites for each one of our guests, and I'm certain that they'll be happy to discuss with you further your branding needs as well as personal branding opportunities. Ramon, I'd like to start with you. How did you get into marketing? Where did that begin?
Thank you, Dr. Carringer. It's a long and twisted journey that has led me up into this seat here. And I will give you kind of the very high level point of view. You described my background. I've been with Nationwide for a little bit more than 20 years. And so I've always been in insurance. Coming out of undergrad, I spent some time at a different company, went to graduate school, worked at Accenture for a while, and then joined Nationwide. And most of my work at Nationwide has been in operations. And so I've run a call center. As you described, before coming into marketing, I was running the Western US portion of our property casualty business. And so I've always had operations jobs. Our company's pretty interesting and neat in a way that we develop pipelines for talent. And part of our succession planning involves giving people stretch assignments and rounding out skills. And so about 5 years ago, I came back to Columbus to take a marketing leadership role. So having run part of our property casualty business, I came back to home office to run property casualty marketing. And so not growing up in the discipline of marketing, but having a solid understanding of the business of insurance gave me a unique lens through which I can kind of direct the activity of our marketing teams. I understood what our salespeople were actually trying to accomplish while they're out in the field. And so to be able to bring that experience into a marketing world was actually a nice mix, because I joined a team with really, really talented marketers and really, really talented partners, some of which that are on the line today. So we partnered with Shipyard for years historically, and I was up at Mills James not too long ago. What a fantastic facility that they have there. So all of that to say, operations background, stepped into marketing, bringing a business element to marketing at a time where measuring the outputs and measuring the return on marketing investment has never been more important. And so as I like to describe it, I've had a non-traditional background for a marketer, and I came into this role as CMO, as you mentioned, in 3 months before the pandemic. And so what started off as a marketing job very quickly turned into crisis management and is evolving now into marketing and brand management. And so we can talk more about that later, but managing a brand through these times has been nothing short of fascinating as well as challenging. And so it's been a neat background, but it's unique in that I get a chance to bring that business element to the discipline of marketing.
Well, thank you, Ramon, and welcome. That's a great background and very interesting. Maybe it's time to write a book about pre-COVID, post-COVID, since you were so close to it.
I don't know if we're post-COVID yet.
Yeah.
We still have a little work to do.
A little work to do. Right on. Hey, Mark Whitman. Mark, I forgot to mention your championship in jiu-jitsu. Tell us a little bit about your background coming to the digital space that you're in today.
Yeah, so I actually started off on the brand side and had the opportunity to have leadership positions in 3 multi-billion-dollar organizations, so 3 very large organizations. And then I got into the emerging tech space, helped a VC build their sales and marketing team. And then my baby daughter was born, and I didn't want to travel anymore. I wanted to have a little more control over my life. And so I actually bought an agency, a digital marketing agency here in town. That's when you and I met, Interactive Inc. Was very blessed with that, sold that back in 2007. When I sold that agency, I'd had very difficult experiences with recruiters. They just didn't understand digital marketing, and they always made recruiting feel like a transaction. And so I felt there was a better way to do it. So I started Team Builder Search in 2008 with the focus on digital marketing and full-time roles. Now, we progressed from there and doing contract staffing, digital transformation teams for large organizations like JP Morgan Chase and others. 2017, we were the 9th fastest growing company in our industry per Inc. magazine. After that, I decided I didn't want to grow in revenue anymore. That wasn't my focus. I'm now in the 4th quarter of my career. I wanted to do what I want to do. I want to focus on quality in working in the types of situations that I get most satisfaction out of. And so now I just build digital first teams, recruit and build digital first leadership for organizations. And so that's director level through the C-suite. And just really help people, get the right digital leadership in place.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, and so you mentioned the 4th quarter, so I would say maybe you're the Tom Brady of our group today.
If I was Tom Brady, I would have retired a long time ago.
Yes. Scott Lanham. So Scott, last year you mentioned something that really struck home with some of our students, where you talked about mopping the floors. And I thought, and that actually I had several comments come back that said, that's something that took him beyond just being a person who's hired for a job. Tell us a little bit about your career path.
Well, it's a pretty short path here. I'm probably one of the rare, people on the panel. I've only had a couple of jobs in my life, but the floor story was I was an intern at Ohio State, working at the WSU studios, and the only thing they had me do was mop the floors. So I decided that I was going to be the best floor mopper that they had. And eventually it got to the point where, I was around and they said, well, we need someone to stand behind this camera. So would you mind, just being a warm body as you mop the floor? So I did that, and those opportunities kept on coming. It was a warm body to be in an audio chair or a floor director or director. And then they said, well, you're doing such a good job at this, we're going to hire you full time to mop the floors. So I, was sort of a custodian kind of guy, but worked my way through the work study program and had a little radio show there, and decided that the way that, I was going to grow was to do whatever I was asked to do, no matter what it was, whether it was in my skill set, whether it was in my direct line of growth. My job was to impress upon my supervisor that I was a person that they could count on, and I was the person that they could turn to. And as I left, Channel 34, I went to Channel 6, worked my way up through there the same way, got to the highest position that I was able to get to as a technical director of the news. Then I decided to jump ship in 1987, I believe, to a very small company with 6 people. I was number 7, Mills James, and took on that same kind of role. I was a director of photography there, and then kept on taking on more responsibility. And as the years grew, I found myself having kids, and 10 years disappeared. I don't know where they went, but I kept on working my way up through the organization and in operations and an engineering realm, and finally ended up in my 4th quarter as COO. And we're continuing to grow and trying to figure out what's happening in the world of hiring and reorganization, and what COVID and working from home has done to our industry and what it's done to our clients' industries, and trying to make that shift. But the key to everything is being willing to do whatever it takes to impress the person above you, let them know you want the job, and to do it the best that you possibly can, because I mop those floors better than anyone else could mop, and they recognize that. And I probably wouldn't be where I was if I didn't pick up that mop.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the story.
That's a fantastic story, and it resonates with our students and with businesses too. Starting out and really working towards serving that target market or that customer that's there and important to you, that many of us forget. Chris Cochran. I've known Chris for many, many years, and I'm blessed to know him. He has given me advice over the years that I've used in both my business life, teaching life, and personal life. I watch his family grow, and it's been a wonderful experience. Chris, give us a little bit of your background. You've got quite a diverse background, and it's been very interesting to read your story.
Yes, and at times it could be the Chinese curse type of interesting, right? May you live an interesting life. That was, have at it. So yeah, I have, I'm from Columbus. I graduated from Ohio State, had worked in an internship at a small graphic design firm that became an advertising agency the day they started buying media. That was just kind of the trigger of, we're an ad agency now. So I helped with that. A woman was pregnant, and she ended up having to, because of the difficulty of her pregnancy early on, I ended up getting a full-time role as an AE that I took on. And then about 9 months later, I said to myself, I got to graduate from college. So I went back to school. So I had a taste of working full time before I actually got out of school. And from there, I did various freelance jobs. I messed up. I learned from my mistakes, thanks to Scott Lanham in small part. And so I went out to LA to take on a new challenge because it was just something that I thought I'd give myself, take myself on a journey, go explore, go discover things. There's never a better time. So did that, connected with this agency out there. When I said, help me get a job, I've done this, 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 and this. And they said, well, we like you. Why don't you work here? And so that's how I became a recruiter. And after working with them for 9 years, went on the client side. When I got asked if I knew any good recruiters, I had a good idea the next day, and a week later I had a new job, and came back here in 2009 because nobody was buying a car and nobody was buying a house. I was working for an agency, an experiential marketing agency that specialized in automotive. That was pretty much all we did. So I had learned of this is, how do you hear about people losing jobs? Mine was the president came around to my office and said, hey, Toyota just wrote us a check for $250,000 to not do the $3 million program. And I said, oh, that sucks. And he stared at me and I said, oh, that sucks. So had a new job, had a new plan in life, and that was to come back to Columbus, wife and a daughter, and I've had 2 more daughters since then. I went to work for the staffing firm, and then I opened my firm. And after 6 years, my career has evolved to, like, I have breaking news. I am now I've been offered and accepted the role of vice president talent here at the shipyard. So, yeah, thanks.
Very good.
So that's boy, talk about up to the minute career updates here. That's where I'm at with what I've done and where I'm at.
It's a great journey, and congratulations. That is quite a company. They've done some wonderful things, and their growth has been astounding as well. So fantastic.
One of the fun things, just to note, given the timing of sorts, our client is Visit California. And I think everybody's seen those commercials where the actors are saying, come to California for the oceans, the mountains, Hollywood. Well, that's what we're doing. And we're actually executing a Super Bowl spot that will run 2 minutes before kickoff.
Excellent.
So really exciting time here.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, really exciting time, and continuing to growing. And it was an opportunity to be a part of something that I seem to have been built for this.
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit. I want to start with the employers, for lack of a better term, in our group today. Our students in particular, they take a lot of classes. Many times our classes are centered in what is called applied learning. They learn software. They learn how to go out and do things for their future employers and as freelancers. Ramona, I'd like to ask you to start us off with, in today's environment, are there things that our marketing, business, design students should learn that, first of all, are in the technical side, maybe software? And what about the soft skills? What are you seeing? What do you look for in a candidate like that?
Sure. A couple of thoughts on that one. And, I'll do my best to apply my aged learnings and processes to today's students. And there's some things that transcend time. What comes to mind first and foremost is writing skills. So that might not sound like, the latest in digital technical skills, but if you can string together a couple of sentences to make a good paragraph, and if you can put a good paragraph, a couple of paragraphs together to craft a good story, that's 90% of what we do in marketing. We are telling stories. Now, we'll do it through different platforms. And so the stuff that I learned when I was in college has been outdated by generations at this point. And so I won't give you specifics around technical details. I have to assume that you guys, as our education partners, are staying on the front and foremost of technology. But skills like writing, structured problem solving. So the ability to take a step back and look at here's where I am and here's what I need to communicate. How do I do that the most effectively? And the ability to take that story arc from point A to point B, holding on to as much attention or as getting your point across. Those things are really important when it comes to being able to be successful, particularly in marketing today. We're telling stories. We're using platforms today that didn't exist 5 years ago. And what we'll use 5 years from now will be something completely different. And so, particularly from where I stand, the ability to write, structured problem solving, critical thinking skills, being able to be creative as you solve problems, that's what I'm looking for. We'll teach people the ins and outs of the technical elements of the job, but if you don't have those solid fundamentals from the beginning, that makes it a lot more difficult to be able to stand out in a crowd.
Yes, yes, thank you. That's something we hear consistently from employers such as yourself. Scott, when I look at jobs on your website, opportunities at Mills James Productions, I notice that oftentimes we see a category of software that's included in that discussion, that job offering. What do you see as valuable for those coming to your firm, whether it be as an employee or from a brand or possibly a freelancer? What's important in your world?
Well, I agree wholeheartedly with Ramon. It's the soft skills of being able to write and communicate are very, very important. We can teach a lot of different types of software, but we're really not the place to sort of start off and become an editor, let's say, or to become a shooter. We hire seasoned people, so we're looking for folks who know all about cameras, know all about f-stops, know all about file formats, know all the Adobe suites. But in the very beginning, if you just understand Word and Excel and understand how to crop a picture and understand PowerPoint, I mean, those are the early learning blocks of what you needed to know to be able to get a good reel assembled and make a good presentation. It's all about making that first good impression when you're trying to get out at a job, out of college and get a job. But we have very specific software that we require our senior people to know. But when you're just getting out of college, it's just that basic stuff. You got to be able to put a sentence, together so people can understand it. And you've got to be presentable, and you've got to have a personality that mirrors your client's personality. And if you've got a good personality and a good attitude, and we can teach pretty much the rest.
Yes, yes, and the software is very interesting. And Ramon, you made a comment about Columbus State Community College and other partners in education training in those spaces, and it's a challenge for us as well to keep up with all of the software that's required. So we do give foundational platforms, and that seems to be where most students then jump off into a career such as you've mentioned. And Scott, thank you. Mark, so you build teams and if I'm correct, a lot of that is in the digital space. What do you see when you start to look for candidates to meet needs? What are the things, the skills that they might bring to the table? And we have you on mute, Mark. Sorry.
My fault. Currently I work in that director level through C-suite space. And so that's kind of a different world. But if I could bring this down to maybe the college, graduating from college world, and look at it through the lens of what's happening in the marketing landscape. If we look at it through the three different domains of marketing, your brand marketing, your product marketing, your performance marketing, right? Your brand marketers are the people that they're feelings people. They create emotional connections in communications that connect brands to their target audiences. You have the product marketers. They're the more the feelings plus facts people. They're finding the pain points of their prospects and solving those and figuring out how to communicate that to the target audiences. And then you have the performance marketer. They're the facts plus the operations, right? So they're the people that take the output from the brands, people from the product people, and they drive leads and they drive sales, right? And so what we've seen through the pandemic is accelerated digital transformation, much like 2008, only much more so, multiple fold so, right? And so and what's happened during that landscape is marketing has moved closer to revenue, right? And so we're seeing performance marketing being elevated in those three domains. The performance marketing has been the most elevated during this time. And so even if you're a brand marketer or a product marketer, you know, greater knowledge of performance marketing is necessary today. And then, you know, so if I put it in kind of that landscape, I'm in complete agreement with Ramon here around attributes, right? You can teach hard skills, you can't teach soft skills. It's harder to teach soft skills. Employers are really looking for adaptable, on-demand learners that are self-starters, right? The world is changing so fast. We have to be adaptable. We have to be able to do a Google search and figure it out. You know, we have to be self-starters, and especially when it comes to problem solving and being able to push the ball down the field, sometimes working through vagueness to do that. In written communication, and I actually do a written assessment even for C-suite people, because written communication is a lost art, like Ramon's saying. It is just a lost art, and the rise of social media has aided that. And now that we're in a remote workplace where remote jobs have accelerated, you know, written communication is more important than ever. And so written communication is super important. If we bring this down to kind of the tactical or pragmatic level for college grads of, you know, what are the kind of skills or technologies that need to show up on their resume for employers, you know, to give them a really versatile, strong resume? I would say data analysis. So Google Analytics, most common accessible tool there. Digital media, right? Google AdWords, most popular thing there. Google AdWords certification is great. Social media, some experience in working in some social media platform like a Hootsuite or Buffer, something like that. Basic SEO concepts, just understanding organic search and the basic SEO. I mean, gosh, keyword research is super useful. You know, it drives a lot of insights that you can use in other places besides SEO. And then some basic design skills, right? Adobe Creative Suite or Canva or something along those lines. Low code skills, just something like a Wix or a WordPress, even something that, you know, allows easy content creation. And then some sort of CRM experience would be, I think, would be the other thing, you know, like a HubSpot or Active Campaign. There's a lot of free ones. Gosh, what's it called, like Pipeline or something like that, there's a lot of free ones out there too, but just having a good solid understanding of those things and being able to present that on a resume, talk about it in an interview, will make you a very competitive candidate in this marketplace.
Fantastic. And yeah, the software skills, and by the way, Google's the Google AdWords and now the Facebook platform we teach in our digital and social environments here at Columbus State, because we found that employers come back and ask for certifications. Chris, Teams, now you're in a role, and would you give me that title again? The
Vice President Talent.
Fantastic. In that role, what do you see is needed? And if you would, because I know your environment, what's it required to become a part of a team in the digital marketing branding business?
Yeah, you know, I think separating digital from marketing is impossible these days. I mean, to Mark's point, and Scott and Ramon as well. So I guess I would talk about what I think it takes to get a job: grit, determination, and curiosity. You know, thinking about this morning, coming in, you know, the hardest thing in life to do is to say goodbye to the people you love. The second hardest is earning a living, right? So it's hard. When I meet with somebody, I want everybody to know that I want you to be the one that gets the job. I know the hiring managers, they want you to be the one that get the job. And often it's coming from a selfish standpoint. They don't want to work on this job search anymore. They want the person they want to fill this job and get on with their own job, because they often don't look at interviewing and resume reviewing as part of their jobs, because their performance is really tied into what they're doing for the business in terms of their title and the responsibilities that they're playing. So have the confidence that you're talking with somebody who wants you to get the job. Understanding a little bit about the company. It doesn't take a lot to have reviewed who you're going to be talking with in terms of their company. So have one or two facts in your head. Have a couple of questions written down on that pad of paper in front of you that you'll be taking notes with. And believe that you're going to be the one. The other thing that kind of popped into my head that I think would be helpful advice is, and this is, I'm not getting too far away from the idea of keep your hopes up. I'd say keep your hopes in check, because it's an emotional journey as you go through what you're trying to do, trying to earn this living, trying to get that job. It's a roller coaster. Everybody goes through it. And one day you'll find the people that think you're their people, and that's when it clicks. So you have to go through a lot of iterations of interviewing and understanding who's right for you, and they're doing the same. So stick with it.
And what kind of jobs are you sourcing now in your new role?
All of them. That's yeah, you know, it makes me feel like I need to become an expert in everything, and that's talk about fourth quarter of life, boy, oh boy. A lot of you know, I think a lot of jobs come, you know, Mark touched upon data and that the data analyst role. We have a bunch of them. Performance marketing, that's coming in. You know, account management, so at a coordinator level where you're coming in to understand how to help the business from, I'll use another football phrase here, you know, if you want to be the quarterback on the team as the account leader, when you're coming into this role as an account coordinator, you know, you're supporting the leader. Project managers, we separated out here at the shipyard, where account management are trusted advisors to our clients, and they're digging into the business, understanding what's happening, how can we help our clients. And then the project management team is understanding how to get the deliverables out the door. What is it the client wants? Those project managers are working to provide that. We have media, and so media planning, and then you have performance media, you have social paid. I mean, the breakdown that's been occurring has created a lot of specialists, and that will only continue. But at the same time, we want to hire people who are specialists but have a broad spectrum of experience, so that they understand what is going on around them. And also in hearing all the good stuff that Mark was sharing, participate, you know, understanding analytics and Hootsuite. Yeah. One thing you could for sure do to get started down that path is participating on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Twitter. You got to be a part of those. You have to know what they are. And I know it's, if you're frustrated with social, you might want to question the path you're going down, because that's what we're working with every day in every which way.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. So we also promote LinkedIn as a place to put portfolios, to help, to help the student become more visible. Scott, quick question for you. So let's all look at the impact of COVID. You made a comment last year in this session that, again, another one that stuck with us and our students. You mentioned that you really didn't know at that point in time what your business, how you interacted with clients and brands would look down the road. Given that we've gone through another year, what does a live event look like? What are you doing with clients in this new type of world? And have you found answers to what a year ago were questions?
Well, Paul, that's a very good question. I mean, we've been following this COVID roller coaster, ever since it started, and we thought this was going to be over, a year ago. So we sort of ramped up and got ready to go back out on the road. For those of you who don't know, about a third of our business is live event business, and then we have a hospitality AV rental business as well. And in March of 20, it just died. The 18th, it just all just died. So I hate this word because we use it too much, but we pivoted very quickly as we laid off 58 people in one day on our event world. We tried to make meetings like this be more like broadcast TV shows. So that's sort of the world that we're in now, where we went total virtual, but made the virtual look like it's a very highly polished broadcast event with remote speakers from around the country, from around the world, that we bring in full screen with titles and graphics and all that stuff. So it was a pretty slick thing. And then we saw things lightening up a little bit. The events sort of started happening, but they were social distanced. But there was still a remote component or a virtual component to that. So that we were thinking that every event that we have now is going to have a virtual component. Now we've switched back to almost all virtual, and just with what's happening over the past 2 weeks, we hear that the CDC may be easing up on their mandates, and things are going to go back to somewhat normal. They're thinking that this virus is going to be something that we're just going to have to learn to live with. So in a meeting just this morning, we talked about, where are we going to get the people that we just laid off and the people that have already resigned? And I think there are several terms for what's happening right now. There's the great resignation, which is just people are just quitting because they just don't like their jobs. It's also called the big reshuffle. People are jumping from job to job. And, we are expecting to lose maybe 20% of our people, but we're looking at that as an opportunity because everyone is losing 20% of their people. So we have, some sorts of methods and practices that we're instituting right now to make sure that we know who's out there. But for those of you who are graduating this year, I think there's a great opportunity for you to get these, new jobs, because a lot of the workforce is just, retired, or unfortunately they might have passed, but it's like, there are a lot of jobs out there, and they are yours for the taking if you are motivated enough to take some of the advice that we're giving you today and learn some of the things that we've learned. But I think there's a great opportunity for you as we continue to get through this next 6 months. But yeah, I hope that answered your question. But yeah, it's virtual event and then back to live, and then we'll see what happens.
You're thinking a mix of digital, virtual, and possibly back face-to-face.
We think there will always be a virtual component to every event, whether that virtual component originates on location or whether the event is in Atlanta and the virtual component lives here. But I think people are so used to it, and it's cheaper. I mean, it is cheaper for the company to do virtual events, and if they're the $1 million shows are now $100,000 shows, and they're more profitable for us, really. But we're in the showbiz and video production business, and the video world has changed a lot as well. Like, yes. We're doing the Cash Explosion shows. We've got contestants back in the building, and we're having every crew member and every contestant and every family member go through COVID testing. Wow. And that's, it's at $11,000 a show. It's incredible.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott. Ramon, COVID impact on your employee base, and also some of those smaller businesses that are part of your universe's target markets. How has it impacted what you do?
Sure. It's just like the rest of the panelists here. It's been fairly substantial on our business. And when I say substantial, I mean that it's forced us to think differently and change how we operate. And so net, it's been, last year was a good year for Nationwide, and it's not driven by COVID per se. It's driven by how we've prepared to navigate a circumstance like COVID. And so, I mean, as my panelists have been chatting, I've been writing a couple of notes down, and Scott's giving really good advice around the job market today. Particularly for those that are looking to graduate. The opportunities are out there for a lot of the reasons that we've already talked about, COVID being one of them. There's a lot of folks who were furloughed or laid off or let go at the beginning of COVID who are opting to not come back into the workforce. And I don't know that any of us could have forecasted that, but that is creating this great demand now that our economies are bouncing back and now businesses are opening again. And Mills James is one of our customers. We did a lot of live events. We do that every year at Nationwide, and we've pivoted a good portion of those to virtual events. And quite frankly, we didn't have the capacity to do it ourselves. So we look for partners that can help us execute on some of these events. So that's creating a demand for a skill set that I don't know that the industry was staffed for. And so it's just, there's a ripple effect of all of the changes that us businesses that we've experienced over the last couple of years. And I will tell you right now, if I went out on the job boards for Nationwide at any given time, we have between 500 and 1,000 open jobs at any given time. Now, they're not all marketing jobs, but at any given time, we're looking for talent and we're looking for specific skill sets. One of the benefits of that is that particularly COVID and the virtual world that we're in, is that we're no longer limited to just Central Ohio to look for talent. And so while that's good for the folks that are on this line, you also need to be aware that you're competing with people that are outside of just Ohio, because a lot of these roles are now virtual. The flip side of that for the students that are on the line is also true. You are no longer limited to just Central Ohio. And you can look at companies that aren't based here for those opportunities that fit your skill set. And so the long and short of it is that COVID has disrupted everything. And for companies who are willing to move very quickly and who are willing to open up how they do business. Again, I'm sitting in a 37-story tower that's built for 6,000 people, and there might be 1,000 people here. Now, if we don't have the technology that allows us to do the things that we're doing today, we're not going to be able to be successful. And the last thing that I'll throw out there, and this is just the impact of digital on marketing. It has shifted priorities, but at the end of the day, it's allowed us to be able to measure a return on investment so that not only can we drive increased brand awareness, but we can also drive that return on investment. It's made us more efficient. And so where in the past, I would need to spend several $1 million on upper funnel brand spend and commercials and newspapers and et cetera, I can pivot that to digital and actually see the return on my investment almost immediately. And so those analysis skill sets that were mentioned today, data analysis and the ability to understand SEO and targeted marketing, those are the skills that If you could bring that to the table, that's great, but that's what we're going to need going forward if we're going to be successful marketers. And so that was a lot more than just COVID, but I will tell you, it's a new world for us. And for those companies who can adapt to this, you will be successful in going after the right talent going forward.
Wonderful, wonderful. Mark, in a handshake business, what used to be a handshake business, how do you keep that relationship going now with the impact of COVID? What has it done to that, what used to be a person-to-person, face-to-face, hand-to-hand kind of business? What's happened to you? And again, we've got you on mute there. Sorry.
That's my fault again.
No worries.
Paul, are you asking in context of the clients I work with or the candidates I work with or both?
Both. How's that relationship today versus what we had before COVID?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because we do everything remote now, and it's going to be interesting, I think, moving forward. I don't know how it's going to work out, but are people going to want to go back to physical relationships, right? Like sales. Do people want to see salespeople anymore? Because we've really, everything's going virtual, and I think people have learned a lot about, well, maybe I don't need to, to see people. So I think that's a really big thing, and I think going along with something that Ramon had talked about is the opportunities for people in the employment workplace, employment seekers is amazing because it's remote now. I mean, all my clients have gone remote, either remote first or some sort of hybrid model. Now, for years, I've tried to talk clients into building remote leadership or remote management skills as a talent acquisition competitive advantage with a batting average of 0 until COVID. Everybody, it's moved us 20 years forward. And so, and I'm a big fan of it. I've had the opportunity to work remotely all over the world, and it's fantastic. But for the folks starting out in their career, I would also caution them a little bit in that if given the opportunity to work remotely or work on site, and of course, if it's safe to work on site based on the virus and all that, maybe it's a good idea to try to work on site if you have that opportunity. That first few years out of school are maybe the most formative few years of your life. I mean, I changed so much, right? Between the age of 22 and 28, I became a massively different person. But those are those years and early in your career where you're making connections and relationships, you're networking, and you're just learning how to be a business professional. You're learning the skills that are going to pay off down the road in your career. Even those students you're going to school with, those other students, those are going to be budget holders one day that you may be a subject matter expert that you work with, or maybe you're, or vice versa. I think it's drastically changed around remote working. And I think for people coming out of school, if you can have an on-site job for at least the first 3 years, I think I would, that's what I would tell my daughter to do.
Right.
is go in that direction.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. We do have a couple of student questions, so I want to get to that. But first I want to ask, let's begin with Ramon. If you had 3 tips, what would those tips be for students? And if you want to touch on business branding as well, what are those 3 tips that you would like to share with us today?
Oh man, putting me on the spot here. First and foremost, for students, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And so I have this conversation with folks here at work often. And from a student perspective, I guess that could look like, how do I show up in the social media space? What does that say about me? So as I'm looking to hire, you best believe that we're going to look for all of the information that we can get around a particular nationwide, because we want you here. We want you to be here for a long time. That includes more than just an interview. It includes understanding how you show up when you're out in spaces that may reflect on us as a company. So tip number 1, and maybe number 1 and 2, is to make sure that you're managing your brand up to and including social media. I think grades are important. So show that you're able to actually deliver. And you don't need a 4.0, but it's going to be very difficult if you're not at least pulling your own weight and showing that you have the raw intellectual horsepower to work in financial services. And then lastly, I think I heard someone else mention this as well. Culture is important. Evaluate the companies that you're considering just as much as they're evaluating you. It should be a place that you fit in. It should be a place that you can kind of look up the chain of command and see yourself. It should be a place that you can go and take a look at their annual statements or their websites, their board of directors, and you should be able to see yourself. And I would ask questions around the culture of a company. I think those things are really, really important. Again, I've been here for a long time, and it's mainly because this is a place that I saw myself and I fit in. And so I would encourage our students to think about it the same way.
Thank you. Chris Cochran, Executive Vice President. Now I've got to
No, you just gave me a raise, Paul. That's great.
Oh,
Executive VP. All right.
Yeah. Just tell them. Yeah, tell them. Shipyard. What 3 tips would you leave with us today?
Be happy intentionally. It's going to be hard. Figure out how to stay happy. Exercise. I'm not a fitness buff, but exercising every day, it helps reduce stress, helps you focus when you need it. I'm talking about going for walks, it matters during a job search. It's tough, like I said. And so I mentioned grit. I'll kind of go with a trio there. Grit, determination, and hustle. Those are your brand. Those are actions you're taking, but that can be part of who you are as a brand. So,
yes. And I learned be happy from you, by the way, and I appreciate that. Mark Whitman, 3 tips.
Yeah, to try not to repeat other folks too much, I would say get your assets in order. Assets being your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and your interview skills. Right. These are the kind of the feet on the street things that are very important. LinkedIn profile, you can do, there's a lot of good content out there. Just do a Google search, LinkedIn profile for, college graduates. I have if you go to teambuildersearch.com on my website and just go to the thought leadership articles, there is a good article on there about getting your resume in order. You have 6 seconds. When a human interviewer looks at your resume, you have 6 seconds. They either you either create a fan and they start looking, that positive bias of trying to pull you into the pile, or you create a pessimist and they have that bias now where they're trying to push you out of the pile, or we get a fence sitter where it's like maybe good enough, maybe not. But then we got more work to do and we may not get into the push forward pile. So that resume is massively important, what you communicate the first 6 seconds. So it's like a user experience for your resume. And interview skills. Interviewing, it's important, it's almost more important what you don't do in interviews is what you do. And there's also an article on the website about, things you should and shouldn't do for a resume, but just being prepped and being ready. Football teams don't step on the field without practicing. Role play, interview, get your friends together, role play before you go on there. I would say the other thing I might add is once you get that job, that first 90 days is critical, right? That first 90 days, it's like making a first impression when you meet somebody. That's when, some of my clients, will even terminate in 90 days, right? If you're not on track, but you create that impression in 90 days, it sets the trajectory of your success with that company.
Yes.
So pay special attention to that first 90 days.
Fantastic. Yeah, I believe that's been very critical through my career as well. Scott Lanham, you know what it's like to be in video production. We have a hard stop in 1 minute. Can you give us 3 tips?
Well, I tell you, I'll do it very, very quickly. I do agree with everyone on the panel. It's very difficult to go last on a 3 tip, but question, but Ramon is very correct. We scrub social media for every person that we try to hire. So clean up your social media. All aspects. We'll find something wrong, and if you have any kind of portfolio or demo reel that you're going to be sharing, make sure that it's up to date, and it has things other than you've done in school. Get an internship, work somewhere else, put that information on your reel, on your resumes, and in your portfolios.
Well, I want to thank all of our panelists today. Fantastic advice, both for students, for we faculty and staff members, and for our businesses in our community. We will be sending you questions from students, and if you're so led, any advice that you can provide and informing those questions, we'd be very thankful. I see that we've run out of time today, but this is important to our community. We need you, each one of you, Scott, Ramon, Mark, Chris, and all of those participants today, to make our world and our community a better place to live for all of us. And I want to thank the panel again. Scott Lanham, Mills James Productions, Ramon Jones, Nationwide and Nationwide Products and Services, Mark Whitman, and I have to look at yours because for some reason I always get it wrong, Team Builder Search. Please look at the website. And Chris Cochran, now the president and COO of, over at Shipyard. Gentlemen and attendees, thank you all. And we hope to see you again next year. Serve our community well. Thank you.